He moved to the colony because it was quiet. That was the only reason. After years of noise, warnings, and crowded human zones, he wanted silence. No questions, no attention. Just a small living unit at the edge of a mixed-species settlement where nothing important ever happened. At least, that was what the transport officer told him. The colony looked calm when he arrived. Clean streets. Low lights. Buildings spaced far apart. No guards. No patrol drones. The kind of place people forgot existed. He liked that. The first night passed without trouble. He unpacked slowly, ate a simple meal, and slept with the lights off. No alarms. No sounds outside. Nothing. The second night was when things changed. He woke up just before midnight. He didn't know why at first. There was no noise inside the room. No alerts on his wall panel. But something felt different, heavy, like the air itself had stopped moving. He stood up and walked toward the door. The room light stayed dim, but the hallway sensor activated. That was when he noticed the shadow under the door. Not one shadow, several. Someone was standing outside, more than one. His first thought was security, maybe a mistake. Maybe patrol units had changed schedules. But when he checked the panel, it showed nothing. No registered movement, no alerts. As if the hallway was empty. Slowly, carefully, he pressed the door viewer. He froze. 3 women stood outside his door. They were tall, still, pale skin under the colony lights, long dark coats that hid their bodies completely. Their eyes were open, but not focused on the door panel or each other. They were watching the corridor, guarding it. One of them slowly turned her head, not toward the door, toward the far end of the hallway where the lights flickered. Her lips pulled back slightly, revealing sharp teeth. The lights stopped flickering. The corridor went silent again. The women did not move. He stepped back from the door without making a sound. His heart was beating fast, but his mind stayed clear. He had lived long enough to recognize danger. And protection. This was both. He did not open the door. The women stayed there until morning. When he finally looked again, the hallway was empty. No sound, no trace, no record. He told himself it was stress. The third night, they came back. This time there were 4. They stood farther apart, positioned like trained soldiers. 1 near the door, 2 near the corridor corners, 1 near the stairwell. All facing outward, all guarding him. By the 4th night, the neighbors noticed. A small merchant across the street delayed closing his shop. A delivery drone hovered longer than needed. People slowed their steps when they passed his building. Whispers started. No one knocked on his door. No one spoke to him directly. But the looks changed. By the 5th night, he understood what they were. Vampires. Not the myths from old human stories. These were real, long-lived, nightbound, regulated by interspecies law. Rarely aggressive, rarely protective of anyone outside their own. Especially not humans. And yet, every night, they stood guard. He tried leaving the colony the next morning. The transport gate refused his exit request. A polite message appeared on the panel. Temporary restriction. Please wait. That had never happened to him before. As he turned away, he felt it. A presence behind him. One of the women stood across the street, alone. No coat this time. Her eyes met his directly. There was no hunger in them. Only warning. He went back inside. That evening, something else happened. A patrol unit entered the colony. Armed. Marked with corporate security symbols. Not local law. The vampires appeared before sunset. More than before. They lined the street, rooftops, shadows between buildings, silent. Still, the patrol slowed. Then stopped. No orders were shouted. No weapons raised. The security unit turned around and left without a word. The colony exhaled. That was when the truth finally reached him. This was not random. He was not being guarded because he was weak. He was being guarded because someone somewhere had realized who he was. That night, He sat on the floor with his back against the wall, listening to the silence outside his door, the soft movements, the controlled breathing, the careful watch. He remembered the war he thought he left behind. A forgotten front, a classified operation, a moment where he made a choice instead of following orders. A choice that saved thousands but erased his name from history. Humans called it survival. Other species called it something else. By midnight, a sound came from the door, not a knock. A signal, low, respectful. He opened the door slowly. One of the vampire women stood alone this time. She did not step inside. "You should not have come here," she said calmly. "I didn't know," he replied. "We know," she said. "That is why we are here." "Who sent you?" he asked. She shook her head. "No one sends us." "Then why?" His voice stayed steady, but the question carried weight. She met his eyes fully now. "Because when the war was at its worst," she said, "you stood between our children and extinction." He said nothing. "We guard what guards us," she continued. "Even if the galaxy forgets." She stepped back into the hallway. The door closed. That night, the colony remained quiet. But it was no longer safe for anyone who meant him harm. And the vampires did not miss a single shadow. The colony changed after that night. It was still quiet, but it was no longer empty. People walked faster. Doors closed earlier. Lights stayed on longer after sunset. No one spoke about the vampire women, but everyone adjusted their lives around them. He noticed it in small ways. A food vendor left a package at his door without asking for payment. A repair drone fixed his window overnight without logging the work. The colony system approved his requests instantly. No delays, no questions. Someone had marked him. He did not like that. He had lived most of his life unseen on purpose. Being noticed meant danger always followed. And danger never came alone. That night, the vampires returned earlier than usual. They appeared before the sun fully set, stepping out of shadows as if the darkness waited for them. There were more now. 6, maybe 7. They took positions without speaking, their movements smooth and practiced. This was no longer simple guarding. This was preparation. He stood inside, watching through the door panel, his hands calm but ready. He knew the signs. The same ones he had seen long ago, on battlefields no one talked about anymore. Something was coming. The colony alarm never sounded. Instead, the air changed. The temperature dropped slightly. Lights dimmed across the street, one by one. Then the colony network went quiet. No music, no announcements, no background system noise. That silence was never accidental. The first attack came from above. A shape dropped from the roof of the building across the street. Fast, heavy, not human. Before it hit the ground, 2 vampire women moved. They didn't shout, didn't rush. They simply stepped forward. One caught the attacker mid-air and slammed it into the wall with enough force to crack metal. The other drove her hand through its chest and pulled out something dark and burning. The body dissolved before it hit the ground. No blood, no sound. The second attacker came from the alley, then a third. Then more. Creatures that did not belong to the colony poured in from hidden transport paths. Tall, twisted forms built for speed and violence. Mercenaries, hunters, someone had paid well. The vampires formed a line. They did not chase, they held ground. Every time something crossed into the space around his building, it stopped existing. From his doorway, he watched calmly, his mind already moving through possibilities. Someone had broken interspecies law badly to come here. That meant desperation. Or fear. He knew which one it was. The final attacker hesitated. It stayed at the edge of the street, watching the vampires, calculating. Smarter than the others, more careful, it raised a weapon. Before it could fire, he stepped outside. The vampires reacted instantly. 3 of them moved toward him, eyes sharp, hands ready. "Stop," he said quietly. They froze. The attacker turned its weapon toward him. Bad choice. He moved faster than it expected. One step forward. A quick strike to the joint, a twist, the weapon fell. The vampires watched without interfering. He disarmed the creature, pinned it to the ground, and placed his foot on its chest. His movements were clean, efficient. Old training. You were sent, he said. The creature hissed but said nothing. He leaned down slightly. They won't protect you if you lie, he said calmly. I will. That got its attention. Human, it rasped. You should not exist. He smiled slightly. I hear that a lot. The creature spoke then. A corporation name. A classified contract. A price high enough to break treaties. Orders to capture him alive if possible. Dead if not. He stepped back. One of the vampire women moved forward and ended it quickly. The night went quiet again. No alarms, no witnesses, no reports. The vampires closed ranks around him. You should not fight, one of them said quietly. That is our duty, he looked at her. Then don't stand in my way, he replied. She studied him for a long moment. Respect flickered in her eyes. Inside his unit later that night, he sat alone, lights low, thoughts heavy. He had hoped to disappear. Instead, he had drawn attention from powerful enemies. Again, a message appeared on his panel. Encrypted. Old military format. Something only a few people still knew how to send. He hesitated before opening it. One line appeared. They found you. We tried to delay it. No signature. He erased the message. The vampires remained outside until morning. At sunrise, the colony council requested a meeting. He ignored it. By the second request, the tone changed. By the third, the vampires blocked the council representatives from reaching his door. That was when the colony understood something important. This human was not a guest. He was an asset the vampires had chosen. That evening, one of them entered his unit with permission. You cannot stay hidden anymore, she said. I know, he replied. They will keep coming. I know. She paused. You could leave. We would clear the path. He shook his head. They would follow. The colony would suffer. Silence filled the room. You are human, she said slowly. Yet you think like us. He looked at her. No, he said. You learned to think like humans. During the war. Her eyes widened slightly. He stood up. Tell your sisters this, he said. I'm not running. What will you do? She asked. He looked toward the door, where shadows waited. What humans always do, he said. I'll make them regret coming. Outside, the vampires adjusted their positions. The quiet colony prepared for something far bigger than anyone expected. And this time, the war would not stay hidden. The colony did not sleep that night. Even after the attack failed, the air stayed tense. Doors remained locked. Windows dimmed. People whispered through private channels instead of speaking out loud. He noticed the change when morning came. Drones hovered higher than usual. Supply ships delayed docking. The colony systems ran slower, as if they were afraid to draw attention. The vampires were still there. Not just near his building anymore. They stood at the edges of the colony now, on rooftops. At access tunnels, near power nodes. Silent guardians marking territory. This was no longer about one human. It was about the colony. He walked the streets openly for the first time. People stepped aside without being told. Some lowered their eyes. Others watched him with open curiosity. Fear mixed with something else. Hope that made him uncomfortable. He had seen what hope did to people during war. It made them careless. It made them believe someone else would save them. He stopped near the central square. A group of colonists stood nearby, pretending not to stare. One of them finally spoke. Are they here because of you? He did not answer immediately. Yes, he said at last. No denial, no excuse. The truth spread faster than any lie. That afternoon, the vampires gathered. All of them. More than he had seen before. They stood in a circle inside an abandoned structure near the colony edge. Dim light, Old stone walls left from an earlier settlement attempt. No surveillance. He stood in the center. "You broke secrecy," one of the elders said. Her voice was calm, but the weight behind it was heavy. "They were going to come anyway," he replied. "They will come in greater numbers now. They already planned to." Silence followed. Another vampire spoke. "The hunters were not alone. A fleet waits beyond standard sensors." That got his full attention. "How many?" he asked. "Enough to burn the colony," she said. He nodded slowly. "They won't," he said. Some of them turned their heads slightly. Confidence without arrogance. Statement, not promise. "You cannot fight a fleet alone," the elder said. "I won't," he replied. "You won't either." That surprised them. "They want me," he continued. "They think removing one human will solve their problem. They are wrong." He looked around the circle. "They are afraid of what humans do when cornered," he said. "But they misunderstand why." "Explain," the elder said. "We adapt," he said simply. "And we remember." He activated his wrist device. Old signals spread quietly into space. Too weak to notice unless you knew where to listen. Ancient codes. Forgotten frequencies. Human frequencies. "You called others," one vampire said. "I reminded them," he replied. That night, the colony sky changed, not visibly. But every experienced being felt it. Pressure. Something large had entered nearby space. The fleet arrived at the edge of detection range. Unknown ships. Dark hulls. Weapon heavy, no transponders. The colony council finally acted. Emergency meeting. Evacuation plans. Distress signals sent and ignored. No help was coming. He stood on the highest platform as the colony lights dimmed. The vampires gathered behind him. "You should hide," one of them said quietly. "No," he replied. "They need to see me." The fleet transmitted a message. Short, cold. "Hand over the human. The colony survives." He took the communicator. "No," he said. Only one word. The response came quickly. "Then you all burn." The first shot never reached the colony. It vanished. Intercepted by something that wasn't there moments before. Then another. Then dozens. Suddenly, space filled with shapes. Human ships. Old designs, new modifications. Scars visible on hulls. Vessels that looked like they had survived things no history books recorded. They formed a loose line between the fleet and the colony. Outnumbered, outgunned, unbothered, the human channel opened. "You always pick bad places to threaten us," a voice said calmly. He allowed himself a small breath. "They followed," one vampire whispered. "They always do," he replied. The battle did not last long, not because humans were stronger. Because humans fought differently. They did not charge. They did not panic. They forced mistakes. The hostile fleet broke formation first. Human ships moved in ways no algorithm predicted. Sacrificing position to gain angles. Taking damage to create openings. When the dust cleared, the fleet retreated. Not destroyed, but broken. The message was clear. Do not come back. Silence returned to space. The colony remained intact. People slowly emerged from hiding. Some cried. Some laughed. Some simply stared at the sky. The vampires watched the human ships disappear. "You did not tell us this would happen," the elder said. "I didn't know who would answer," he replied honestly. "But they did." "Yes." She studied him. "You are dangerous," she said, not as an insult. "So are you," he replied. That night, the vampires did not stand guard. They stood beside him, not as protectors, as allies, but the war was not over. He knew it, because power never forgave humiliation. And somewhere far away, someone was already planning revenge. The quiet colony had survived. Now it was visible. And visibility always came with a price. The colony did not celebrate, not openly. People were alive. Buildings still stood. The night sky was calm again. But everyone understood something had changed forever. They had been seen. The human ships were gone, but their message remained. The quiet colony was no longer invisible, and the galaxy never ignored places that survive when they should have burned. He felt it the moment he woke up. Not danger, expectation. The vampires were still present, but their stance had changed. They no longer hid in shadows. They stood openly at key points, not guarding him alone, but the colony itself. He walked outside at sunrise. The street was full. Colonists gathered quietly, forming a path without being asked. No cheers, no noise, just eyes following him. One voice finally spoke. What happens now? He stopped. Now, he said, they try something smarter. That afternoon the signal arrived, not a threat. An invitation. Encrypted. Polite. Corporate. A neutral station requested a meeting. One representative. No weapons. No fleet. The colony council panicked. They want to trap you, someone said. They want to study you, said another. A vampire elder watched him carefully. This is not a request, she said. It is a test. He nodded. I'll go. The vampires reacted instantly. No, several said at once. They will not touch me, he replied. If they do, they lose more than they gain. That is not enough, the elder said. He met her eyes. It is for humans, he said. The station was old but powerful, neutral in name only. Built between territories, protected by contracts thicker than armor. He arrived alone. The meeting chamber was large and empty except for one figure. A woman, human, well-dressed, calm, smiling in a way that never reached her eyes. You look smaller than the reports, she said. Reports usually lie, he replied. She gestured for him to sit. I represent interests, she said. Many interests. I know, he replied. You disrupted a profitable outcome. I stopped a massacre. She smiled slightly. Same event. Different wording. She leaned forward. You don't belong in a quiet colony, she said. You belong at the center of things. I don't, he replied. That is where you are, she said calmly. She activated a display. Images appeared. Colonies, ships, faces, humans, vampires, others. You started something, she continued. Symbols spread faster than fleets. I didn't ask for that, he said. No one does, she replied. But symbols are useful. She made her offer. Protection, resources, influence, a public role. An alliance framed as peace. All you have to do, she said, is stand where we tell you. He was quiet for a long moment. No, he said. Her smile faded slightly. You're choosing instability. No, he corrected. I'm choosing responsibility. You're one human, she said. You can't control what comes next. He leaned forward. That's why I won't try. He stood. The meeting ended without anger. That worried him more than threats ever could. Back at the colony, the vampires sensed it immediately. They did not threaten you, the elder said. No, he replied. They counted on time. That night, things broke. Not with explosions, with whispers, false signals, trade delays, supply errors, accidents that weren't accidents. A power node failed. Then another. A transport ship crashed during docking. No deaths, warnings. The colony council begged him to leave. If you go, they said, they'll stop. He shook his head. They won't. The vampires gathered again. They are trying to turn the colony against you, one said. They won't succeed, he replied. How do you know? Because humans know this tactic, he said. We invented it. He opened a channel, not to fleets, to stories. Records spread quietly, old footage. Forgotten battles, testimonies no one believed until now. Humans had saved worlds before, and been erased for it. The truth moved faster than lies. Other colonies watched. Other species listened. Pressure shifted. The corporate interests reacted poorly. A message arrived. Not an offer this time. A deadline. Leave the colony. Or it becomes an example. The vampires did not wait for his response. They moved their people, reinforced shelters, prepared for siege. "You will not stand alone," the elder said. "I know," he replied. "That's what scares them. The attack did not come from space. It came from inside. A sabotage attempt. Power core. Timed. Clean. He was already there when it happened. He stopped it with his own hands, sealing the breach, rerouting systems, burning his palms on overheated metal. Humans endured pain differently. The vampires watched in silence. When it was over, the colony lights returned. And something else changed. The people stopped asking him to leave. They started asking how to help. That night, as the vampires stood watch, one of them spoke quietly. "You could have taken power," she said. "I still could," he replied. "Why don't you?" He looked at the sleeping colony. "Because humans don't need thrones," he said. "We need choices." Far away, decisions were being made. Bigger forces shifted. The galaxy was done testing him. Next time, they would try to end him. And this time, there would be no offers. The attack came without warning, no message, no countdown, no demands. The first sign was silence. Not the calm kind the colony was used to, but a heavy silence that pressed against the air. Sensors froze. External lights dimmed, then shut off completely. The stars vanished behind a curtain of artificial darkness. He stood outside, looking up. "They're hiding the sky," he said. The vampires moved instantly. Positions were taken. Shields activated. Evacuation routes opened. But this was different. This was not a fleet meant to threaten. It was a system meant to erase. Energy pulses struck the colony's outer barrier, not hard enough to break it, but precisely enough to drain power. Piece by piece. Patient. Cold. "They learned," one vampire said quietly. "Yes," he replied. "They finally did." The power core alarms began to rise again. This time he didn't run alone. Colonists followed him. Engineers, medics, people who had once avoided his eyes now moved. Beside him without hesitation, humans and others. The vampires held the perimeter while the rest worked. He reached the core chamber just as the outer shield dropped to emergency levels. Sweat ran down his face. His hands moved fast, steady despite the heat. "They're trying to force a failure," one engineer said. "They won't get it," he replied. Above them, something massive broke through the sky veil. A command ship, not corporate. Not neutral, government. The kind that ended debates by removing the problem. A transmission filled every open channel. "This colony is under unlawful protection. Step aside." Final warning. He opened a public channel. "This colony is under human protection," he said calmly. "That's the warning." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the command ship fired. Not at the colony, at him. The beam struck the ground where he stood. The vampires moved faster than thought, forming a shield wall around him. Their bodies burned under the impact. Some fell, others held. He did not move. He stepped forward instead. The beam cut off. Shock rippled through the colony. No one had ever walked toward a government weapon and lived. "You don't understand humans," he said into the channel. "We don't stand behind shields forever." He activated one final signal, not a call for help. A declaration. Every human ship in range appeared. Not many, enough. They did not surround the command ship. They ignored it. They locked onto its support network. Communications, supply lines, authority chains. The government channel filled with panic. "You can't do this," a voice shouted. "This is treason." "No," he replied. "This is memory." Data flooded the network. Proof, orders, hidden massacres, erased colonies, prophets signed in blood. The truth spread faster than weapons ever could. The command ship powered down. Not destroyed, disabled. The vampires lowered their shields slowly. Some were injured. One did not rise. He knelt beside her. She smiled faintly. "Worth it," she said. "Yes," he replied quietly. The galaxy reacted within hours. Not with force, with silence. Treaties were rewritten, charges filed, names removed from power. The colony remained. No longer quiet, but free. Days passed, repairs finished. Lights returned. Life continued. He stood at his door one final night. The vampires gathered, fewer than before, but standing tall. "You could leave now," the elder said. "They will not follow." "I know," he replied. "Will you?" He looked at the colony, the people, the street that had once been empty. "No," he said. "This place chose me too." She nodded. "Then we stay." Morning came. The sun rose on a colony that would never be ignored again, not because of fear, but because humans had reminded the galaxy of something simple. Quiet does not mean weak, and protection is strongest when it is chosen. The door stayed unguarded that night. It didn't need to be. The colony was awake,